Om Namah Shivaya. Last Sangha, we were studying the first stanza in the 12 stanzas about the Temple of Truth, Satya Mandira Dwashaka, the 12 stanzas. So the first stanza was Paramashivasya Swatantriya Bhavitas Trikamukhyamatāni Khalu Virachitu Maham Pravartate Nischalaya Sarvesha Bhaktya. Inspired by the absolute freedom of Paramashiva, I proceed to write the main tenets of Trikashaivism with unshakable devotion for the Lord of all. So only with this unshakable devotion for the Lord of all, I can continue my writing, because it's so difficult to write in Sanskrit all this and in meter, you cannot imagine. 40 stanzas like this, I was dying. So I was commenting all this, I was reading the book. So, explanation in the book. It's impossible to write something meaningful about Trikashaivism, the great philosophy of northern India, without being inspired by his irresistible swatantriya, absolute freedom. How to write about escaping from overwhelming bondage without the help of Paramashiva's independence? It would be a contradiction in itself and something impossible too. Like going to catch the wind with one's own hands. What knowledge does a human being possess that can be called his? All his knowledge is originated from a spark of awesome Shakti, his power, which lives in the minds of all the beings. This Shakti is called Kundalini. When Shakti is inside the body, it's called Kundalini. Being conscious of my current position, I proceed to write the main principles of Trikashaivism with a firm devotion for him. This devotion is not based on remembering Paramashiva when the things are not going very well, like most people do, and on forgetting him when they return to normality or when they go very well. My devotion for the Lord of all is not like that. It remains stable throughout the moods of my mind and body, just like a thread running through many beads in a rosary. It's with this devotion that now I begin to write about greatly holy Trikashaivism. May my efforts be for the welfare of all the beings who are suffering from the sickness called never-ending ignorance about one's own essential nature. To exist without not knowing who you are. This pain, you feel this pain. You don't feel this pain, you are not ready for greater teachings. This pain of not knowing who I am. Yes, you know in theory I am Shiva, but you don't feel this identity in you. This pain, this bondage. Second stanza about these 12 stanzas about the Temple of Truth. I wrote, Dvaitair Drishti Vir Adivasite Jagatya. Adivasite is perfume. Adivasite Jagatyasmin Prasidam Trikam. Etat Prashnam Sadhayitum Virachayami Grantamaham. In this word perfume, by the dualistic viewpoint, I'm inspired by the gloss of Kshemaraja. When he started, I don't know well, but Shiva Sutra, Vimarshini, I suppose. When he started, he wrote in this word perfume by the dualistic viewpoints. In this word perfume by the dualistic viewpoints, Trikashaivism is not generally known. It's unknown, Trikashaivism in general, yes? What systems are more popular? Vedanta, especially dualistic Vedanta. Hare Krishna, dualistic Vedanta. Non-dualistic is known better than Trikashaivism. Advaita Vedanta from Shankaracharya, dualistic Vedanta from Madhva Acharya. qualify non-dualistic Vedanta from Ramanuja. Yes, they are more popular. Patanjali, Sankhya Yoga, Kapila Muni, founder of Sankhya, Patanjali, founder of Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, yes, and Sankhya Yoga. They are very well known. But this Trikashaivism is hidden. To solve this problem that is generally unknown, I am composing the book to make Trikashaivism known to more and more people. Explanation in the book. In this world where fools reign supreme, one can find dualistic viewpoints at the summit of their foolishness. For example, dualistic people thinking that they will get liberation when they go to the world of some god. I will get liberation when I travel to the Vaikuntha world. Only there, after dying, I will get liberation in the Vaikuntha world with Lord Vishnu. Foolishness. Because Lord Vishnu is everywhere. Why you need to go there? Why there is more Lord Vishnu there than here? Why? Who said that? Ignorant. Religions, the same, most of them. Stupidities, going to heaven, to be with God. But if God is here with you, why you need to discard God, to remove God, to attain God? Stupidities. This is denied by Abhinavagupta, the greatest Trika master. Any movement of the body to another world to get liberation is foolish. To travel in time is foolish too. For example, in the future, in some remote future, I will get liberation. No, it's foolish. Shiva is with you now. Why not to get liberation now? Other thoughts in this humankind is that, for example, extraterrestrial beings will come and these beings are enlightened and will give us liberation or some crap. Yes, you know this mentality some groups have. Yes, that extraterrestrial will come and this guy coming from another world will give us something valuable. Foolish. Why is Shiva more there than here? Again, Shiva is here like he's there. In every portion of the universe, Shiva is in the same quantity. This is explained in the scriptures. In every portion of Brahma, Shiva, there is Brahma. So why you need to move? Why you need to receive the visit of some extraterrestrial guy to give you liberation? No, stupid. So it's right here and right now or never. Why is Irina moving so much? I cannot understand, but it is distracting. So all the time postulating these dualistic viewpoints, that the Lord is someone different from the rest of the beings. All the time pushing people more and more into the hole of samsara, transmigration full of misery. Another religion, Buddhism, they think that there is no God, only void. But who is watching the void? God. So it's stupid. Because they knew about the void because they were watching the void. So who was watching the void? God. So the void cannot be the highest reality. It's the guy watching the void, the highest reality. Well, centuries teaching the void. Centuries. And still they didn't realize. So all these morons, all these fools that reign supreme in this world, because this world belongs to them. Christianity, 1 billion followers. Yes, Christianity, 1 billion followers. Buddhism, I don't know, but maybe 300 million or something. I don't know. All this world of fools. In this world, fools reign supreme. And I can prove it. I'm proving it now. So all the time postulated that the Lord is someone different from the rest of the beings, all the time pushing people more and more into the hole of samsara, transmigration full of misery, all the time accumulating more and more followers who go nowhere, like the philosophies themselves, all the time resisting with all their force the revelation of the truth, all the time throwing nonsensical ideas, and so on. In a world like this, it's difficult for a philosophical system like Trika to be well known, let alone popular. Let alone is like saying, you know what is let alone? It's like, if it's not well known, imagine popular. Less probable, let alone, less probable, popular. I'm writing this book to solve this problem once and for all. Or at least this is my hope, yes, obviously. In this world of fools, I cannot be fully successful. Because most of people will buy Harry Potter, not my book. Because they didn't still realize that they're in bondage. Despite all the horrors in this world, all the suffering, they still didn't realize that they're in bondage. In spite of the overwhelming masses of fools going nowhere, there are wiser people hidden everywhere in this world. For example, you, yes. My book aims, above all, at reaching them. This kind of people are called in this book aspirants. Therefore, may them hear me loud and clear. So, sadhakas, aspirants, sadhaka in Sanskrit. This is the name, sadhaka. Sadhaka means someone going straight to the goal. This is a sadhaka, an aspirant. Stanza 3. Trikam trividham shiva shakti nara rupa shashana tuad asya paraya parayaya parayash chopadhya visambandhya vyakhya tuad. Trika is triple since it teaches about the nature of Shiva, the Lord, Shakti, the power of the Lord, and Nara, the limited being. And since it explains the relationship and peculiar characteristic of para, supreme, of para, supreme, non-supreme, and apara, non-supreme. What is this? The Lord is Shiva, is I. Shakti is the power of the Lord, is Am. Together forms I am, I am, I am, I exist. And Nara is the limited being who still cannot understand that he exists. How stupid is it? What is latest? He cannot understand that he exists. But he exists anyway. That's why my acharya told me in the past, this is a rock. This, in front of me, this is a rock. The nowhere. So this nowhere. It's a rock. Sphere. All the time perceiving. Even if you are ignorant, even if you are wise, he's all the time perceiving. This is the rock. That's why Jesus Christ said, over this rock I will build my church. Nobody knows if he said church or San Simel yet, because it's very strange church, but okay. Over this bill, when he grabbed Peter and told, over this rock I will build my church. Yes? But not on Peter, over Peter. Over the rock in Peter, over Shiva in Peter. The rock. Not on Robert, the guy, the Nara. Over Shiva Shakti in him, the rock. This was a real meaning. And Para is supreme. Para is the Supreme Lord in his highest aspect. Para is the mirror where consciousness reflects itself. Anapara is the object, the reflected consciousness appearing in this universe. So this universe with all these objects is apara. Para is the mirror where consciousness reflects itself. And para is consciousness, pure consciousness. You cannot attain para because para is all. You cannot attain the all. You cannot, like an ego, oh, I will attain para. No, para will attain you. That's why at the last moment before liberation, you cannot attain liberation. Liberation will attain you. Explanation in the book. The Sanskrit word Trika literally means triple, threefold. There are many ways to explain this, but here I have selected the two most important ones. Trika is triple because it teaches about the nature of Shiva, the Lord of all the beings. Shakti, the power of the Lord who is his I consciousness. I am. I am. Some problem hearing me? No, because Skype told me something. Trika is triple because it teaches about the nature of Shiva, the Lord of all the beings. Shakti, the power of the Lord, who is his I consciousness, is I am, as well as the entire universe. So Shakti becomes I am, this vibration in him, and at the same time, she expands like the whole universe. And Nara, the limited being, always prone to error and completely unable to do anything meaningful by himself. The crab, yes. Well, even this Nara, the crab, is him. This is the teaching. But not for you to go crazy, yes? It's a holy teaching. Not for you to go crazy and start to tell people, I'm him. You are nothing. I'm him. No, they are him too. Remember this. Trika is also triple because it explains the relationship and peculiar characteristic of para, and apara. Para literally means supreme. It's the highest level where the Lord exists as pure consciousness. It's the kingdom of his irresistibly chow will. It stands for the present. So you can get liberation all the time at present because he's at present. He's not in the future. He's not in the past. That is, this will is present at all times without the least interruption. So you cannot tell me, oh, Guruji, I don't have time to meditate. What is that? You are all the time with him. I cannot meditate, Guruji. I don't have time. What is that? How is it possible that you are so busy? You don't have a few seconds to be with him if he's all the time with you. It is. I am solid. I am. You cannot stop it. Nobody can reach para because she's all. One cannot at all reach the all. One already lives in the all. And when one recognizes these simple truths, one realizes that one is the Lord himself. This is full non-dualism. That is complete identification with Paramashiva. Para literally means supreme, non-supreme. It's the middle level where another power of the Lord appears and mixes with his will. Jnana. Jnana knowledge appears and mixes with his will. So appears para, the mirror of consciousness. Therefore, in this kingdom, his will and knowledge are completely mixed with each other. It's not only will to manifest an universe, but also the knowledge about how to do it. It stands for, you know what it stands for? To represent. It represents, it stands for the future. That is, this will plus knowledge represents all the future things that will emerge from the womb of his power. One can reach para at least in its gross aspect, because there is a subtle aspect. Ramana, you speak about this. by means of intense efforts or sometimes just spontaneously due to his merciful touch. When you reach Para, for example, you see the universe like from a mountain. You see all the universe like from a mountain. In the same way you see a city from a mountain, yes, you see the whole city. You cannot say that you know the city building by building. No, you see the whole city. In the same way, you see the universe like this, like a reflection. You need experience to understand. Yes, the topic is even more complex. I'm only showing a little bit of it to keep the thing so simple as possible. Apara literally means non-supreme. It's the lowest level where even another power of the Lord appears and mixes with his will, plus knowledge, kriya, action. As a result, in this kingdom, his will, knowledge, and action are completely mixed with each other. It's not only will to manifest an universe, but also the knowledge about how to do it. Not an universe, a universe. To do it. And now the action, that is the capacity to carry it out, to do it. So in Para is a reflection only, it's a plan in the mind of God. It's only will and knowledge about how to do it. But in Apara, the real doing happens with Kriya. So it stands for the past, Apara. That is, this will plus knowledge plus action represents all the things that have already emerged from the womb of his power. One can reach Apara by means of the right efforts. Those three levels are related to the well-known 4 levels of speech. The topic is very complex, but I will simplify it here for the reader. This is just a very summarized way to understand a subject which is much more complicated and deep. Paravak, the supreme speech, is in para, related to the navel. To the navel is para. Is in para, as it's obvious. Here, there is no differentiation between word and object. For example, the word tree and the respective object denoted by it, that is the tree itself, are completely one. Second, Pashanti, the one who sees. Though it starts to emerge in para, it can be said to be positioned in para. Here, the differentiation between word and object cannot be detected too, but there is a seed of duality emerging. Generally, the state of Pashanti is compared to watching a far city from a mountain. I told you, para is this. Yes. One can see the city, but cannot differentiate the things down there. Or better, one can hardly differentiate something by enormous effort, but this differentiation is just a sprout and never full duality. Madhyama, the middle one, is also potential in para, but it descends to para. Pashanti is in the heart, para is in the navel, pashanti is in the heart, madhyama is in the throat. The middle one, madhyama, it's also potential in para, but it descends to para. Here, the differentiation between word and object can be detected. You can detect the difference between the word tree and the tree itself, but only at a mental level. Anyway, though it could sound very strange, when one reaches Madhyama, there are no thoughts in one's mind. It's very strange. Madhyama, following the above example, is like descending from the mountain and little by little to start to differentiate the different objects and people in the city. So in para, full para, you are in Pashanti. You see from the mountain the city. When you start to descend, you continue in the mountain, but you start to see little by little the city, one by one the buildings and people there. This is Madhyama, still in Parapara, but with differentiation. And finally, Vaikari, the ordinary speech. Why Vaikari? Because it's related to Vikara. And what is Vikara? What is Vikara? No Vikara. Vikara is change. This is Vikara with key H. You go to the dictionary. Vikara is change. Change of form or nature. But my word is not Vikara, it's Vikara. Not present in the dictionary. Look at this. Strange. No, it's not present. Well, Vikara, according to maybe the prefix V, Kara. Kara. Dense, acid, hot, cruel, mule, crow, hero, demon, style phrases. No. So maybe it's only philosophical definition. Vikara means in philosophy, body, the body, the deha, the vikara. That's why Vaikari is related to Vikara. Maybe it's with a long E. I don't think so. Vikara. No, I don't think so. Some philosophical words are not appearance in common Sanskrit dictionaries. That's why sometimes you can receive, or you can receive a definition that is wrong in philosophy. Okay. I put in the book, I put this chart, diagram 1, the kingdoms of Para, Napara. It's a good book. Yes, you can buy. Please do it. In the future, in my plans, after some time, I will put all the book available for free in the website. Yes, in the future. In order to show how great I am. I can write in Sanskrit. You will see. So, you see in the chart, Paravak, supreme speech, related to Para, the supreme level. Supreme consciousness, irresistible will, Icha. Yes? Para, supreme, non-supreme, a mixture of para and apara, mixture, para. Pashanti, level of speech, the one who sees, because you see the city from the mountain. You see, Pashanti. Madhyama, the middle one, in the lower portion of para is Madhyama. Only in the mind you differentiate the things. It's a mixture of will and knowledge. And finally, apara, non-supreme. It's a mixture of will, knowledge, and action. And is related to Vaikari, the ordinary speech. You see? Now, the other aphorism of the other stanzas 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and 9, I put all of them in a block, and I comment on them in one block because they are related to each other. So I will read this long reading. Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, Somananda, Utpala, they are the names of the great sages of Trikashya business. Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, Somananda, Utpala, Shema, Eva, Trika, Pramukya, Budaste, Panchati, Dridhastuna, Nunam, Satyasya. You can imagine how complicated to put all the names of these sages with meter, with area meter, and you cannot imagine. That's why I said inspired by the devotion to the Lord. Yes, you understand, in order to give me good mood to do it, force. Satyasya Mandira Dara Dandaras te shan Sri Durva Sasa Adateshuhi. Advaita Chatur Shasti Prashamsya Bhaira Batantreshu. Shambhu Kriteshu. Antargata Vigyana Sudridha Bhumyam. Sta Asam Shayamado Bhagaha. Tesham Tashankara Bastad Buddha Paramagyanena Savali Krita Vai Panchati Sundarastu Nanam Eva Musham Shirsha Niesham Mokshasya Mahavibhavena Bushitas Tadvadvyo. Bushitas is adorned, decorated. Bushitas Tadvadvyo. Valambate Chahi. Sturna Shirsharni Dirga Chatura Shro Bhago Bhavanasyas Mineva Anya Buddha Nam Namami Paramashivena Tastani Nishchita Meva Triambakanatho Lakshmana Guptascha Kalatah Shambhur Bhaskarascha Abhinavagupta Visheshascha Ramakanto Varadaschetyadinihi. I told you that about the Google Translator. They have a translation from Sanskrit. We can do something fun now for you to laugh because it's a little primitive, the translator. So especially poetry in Sanskrit, can you imagine? Yes. But we can laugh a little with this pioneering. So look at this. Abhinavagupta, the translation into English from my stanza. Vasugupta Somananda Utpala is peace. Is peace? No. Kshemaraja is Kshema. Is Kshema. These 5 wise men, chief among the prosperous, are surely very firmly established. They hold the temple of truth in the habit of Sri Durvasa. You see the way they write. And their doubts were strengthened by that supreme ignorance of the Buddha. Look at this, the translation. It's crazy. But anyway, they are advancing with the polishing of this program, yes, to translate from Sanskrit. In the past, was completely non-existent. The names of other Buddhas, not Buddhas, sages. He put instead of sages, he put Buddhas. And certainly tormented by the Supreme Shiva, tormented. Look at this, tormented. Crazy translation. Ramakanta, Lakshmana Gupta, Kalata. So he detects the names of the sages very well. Yes, it's not so bad. So very funny, but can help you somehow to understand something. Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, now the human translation. Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, Somananda, Utpaladeva, and Kshemaraja are the main sages of glorious Trika Shaivism, because sages is Buddha, but the other is Buddha. Buddha, this is the sage of Buddhism. But this is Buddha without double D, only DH. So the Sanskrit translator in Google Translator mistook this for Buddha from Buddhism. So Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, Somananda, Utpaladeva, and Kshemaraja are the main sages of glorious Trikashaivism. According to my opinion, Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, Somananda. Abhinavagupta, the great Trika master, he wrote more than 40 books. His main book is Tantraloka, Light of Tantra. Vasugupta, he was the sage who discovered the Shiva Sutras from Shiva, written by Shiva. He wrote Spandakarikas. Somananda is the founder of a Pratyabhigya branch of Trikashaivism. He wrote Shivadrishti, a very important scripture. Utpaladeva, he was the main writer in the Pratyabhigya branch of the Trika philosophy. He wrote the Pratyabhigya Karikas, great scripture about Pratyabhigya, recognition. And Kshemaraja, the great commentator of Shiva Sutras and Spandakarikas, and the commentator of Swachanda Tantra. In my opinion, one of the greatest sages. Some people can disagree with me, yes, because there is some animosity against Shemaraja. I don't know why. In the lineage of Trikashaivism, there is some animosity against Shemaraja. They dislike Shemaraja because he was a little arrogant or something. I don't know why. I mean, I got liberation with his writings, so I cannot tell anything bad about him. Are the main sages of glorious Trikashaivism. This is my opinion. They are certainly the 5 extremely firm columns supporting the temple of truth. So this temple of truth called Trikashaivism has 5 columns. You know, columns. Sturnaha columns, 5. These are the firm columns supporting the temple of truth. The temple of truth is Trikashaivism in this poetry. Their bases, their Adobagaha, their bases of these columns are doubtless resting on the very firm ground of the wisdom contained in the non-dualistic 64 praiseworthy Bhairavantantras. Praiseworthy, so you have to praise these 64 Bhairavantantras. These are at the base of these 5 columns. It's poetry, you know, it's metaphor. These Bhairavantantras composed by Shambhu. Shambhu is Shiva. Sham is the bliss to see unity in all. And Bhu is the one who is. So Shambhu, the one who is the bliss of seeing unity in all. This is the name of Shiva. Composed is Bhairavatantra by Shambhu and received from Venerable Durvasas. Durvasa was the sage who compiled all these Bhairavatantras. 64. And they are shafts. How to translate into in Spanish shaft is no, the first part of the column, the shaft, the top part, the upper part of the columns, and their shaft are strengthened. No, the shaft is the main part of the column. The shaft. The main part of a column is a shaft, is this cylinder. Yes? Translation are bad. In English from Google Translator is not good. Shaft. Asta. Astas. Las astas. El eje. Yes, the axis of the columns. The main part of the columns are strengthened by the supreme knowledge of those sages. And the capitals are the upper part of the columns, yes, the capitals, this part. So the columns have this form and the capitals like this. Yes, like the Greek columns, like these capitals, all this. Capitelio in Spanish. And the capitals of those 5 very beautiful columns are indeed decorated with the great glory of their liberation. So the liberation of these 5 great sages are like the capitals there. You understand me, yes? I will try to do something to understand. Da, 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 da. What it is here. I'll try to write something for you. It'll be Photoshop, right? I will draw something for you. If I can. Okay. So you have the shaft of the column. This is the shaft. Next, you have the base of the column here. And the capitals here. See the capital decorated with something. And the base here. For you to understand. After the capital, you have the architrave in Spanish, but I didn't put architrave because this is not a philosophical, it's a philosophical poetry, it's not the architectural truth, yes. Architrave in English is architrave, the architrave. I didn't put the architrave. Here you have the architrave. So you have something in the temple like this, the architrave. Over the architrave, there is a frieze, another thing. And in this frieze, you have all the decoration here of the temple. You see something like this for you to understand. Okay, but I didn't put the architrave. So, the capitals of those very 5 beautiful columns are indeed decorated with the great glory of their liberation. And on the rectangular portion which rests upon the capitals of the columns of the temple, that is the frieze. How to pronounce this in English? Frieze. Someone can tell me why you didn't put frieze in Sanskrit directly? Why you put a rectangular frieze? Why you put a rectangular portion which rests upon the capitals of the columns of the temple? Why you put this rectangle just there on the columns? Because there is no translation of frieze into Sanskrit. I couldn't find in my dictionaries any translation of frieze in English into Sanskrit. So I had to write a description of the frieze, of this rectangular stone on the columns, and which rests upon the capitals of the columns of the temple, that is the frieze. The names on this rectangular portion, you can read the names of other sages have definitely been carved, yes, sculpted there, carved by Paramashiva. So Paramashiva wrote on the stone these names, carving into the stone. You understand carving? Carving. Esculpir, tallar, talló in Spanish. He talló, tallar. Paramashiva, carved. In Hungarian, vagot, tallar. Vagot. In Russian, резать.
Вырезать. Вырезать.
Резать. So Shiva with the cincel in Spanish, I don't know in English, with the cincel, yes, on the stone of the frieze of this rectangle, wrote the names of other sages. Paramashiva himself did it. Trikamukhyamatāni, the mental son of Durvasas. He is the father of all of us. Lakshmana Gupta, Kalata, the great Lakshmana Gupta, the guru of Abhinavagupta, one of the gurus of Abhinavagupta, disciple of Utpaladeva. Maybe my memory doesn't serve me well, but I suppose that I'm okay. Kalata, the disciple, the great disciple of Vasugupta. Shambhunatha, the guru of Abhinavagupta, the Kula guru of Abhinavagupta. He stimulated Abhinavagupta to write Tantraloka. Bhaskara, the great commentator, Bhaskara. Abhinavagupta Vishesha, one of the disciples of Abhinavagupta that he mentioned in Tantraloka. Ramakanta, another great commentator. And Bharadaraja, another poet that wrote Shiva Sutras in poetry with the commentary wrote a commentary of Shiva Sutra in Marshini in poetry. Okay, so all these names are carved into the stone, yes, of this rectangular stone, this frieze. Now start to comment. On my list, the main 5 sages of Trika Shaivism are Abhinavagupta on my list. Someone can disagree with me, but it's my list. The main 5 sages of Trika Shaivism are Abhinavagupta, Vasugupta, Somananda, Utpaladeva, and Kshemaraja. But why are they so important? Abhinavagupta, he was the sage who unified Trika Shaivism. Before Abhinavagupta, there were 4 separate schools that share many points with each other, but that disagree about others. The names of those schools are Spanda, Pratyabhigya, Kula, and Krama. After the monumental effort by Abhinavagupta, the 4 schools were part of a whole doctrine, which is now known as Trikashaivism. The topic, as always, is much more complex, but with this simplification is more than enough for now. Nonetheless, I will add now this list explaining a little bit about every school. So I wrote in the book, Spanda School. I call this school traditional Trikashaivism. This is my calling it. It's by far the most popular school by now. It was founded by sage Vasugupta. Spanda, literally vibration or throb, is Shakti, the power of the Lord. And this Shakti is simply eye consciousness, that is the aham or I of Shiva, so to speak. Spanda permits Shiva to know that he exists. It's you. You know that you exist because you have Spanda in you. It's his absolute freedom, Spanda. This school uses the viewpoint of Shakti, and there are space and time in spiritual processes. Second school, Pratyabhigya School. It was founded by sage Somananda. Its name is Pratyabhigya, recognition, because it uses the viewpoint of Shiva. And there are no space and time in its spiritual processes. That is, one has to recognize his Shivahood right here and right now. It requires a high caliber disciple. Kula School. It was founded by sage Srimachandanatha, but subsequently refounded by sage Sumatinatha. Its name is Kula, totality, because it teaches about how to perceive totality in every portion of the universe. It uses the viewpoint of Paramashiva, and there are no space and time in spiritual processes. That is, one has to recognize that totality is present even in the minutest particle of this universe. It also requires a high caliber disciple. Finally, Krama School. It existed at the time of Durvasa due to his efforts, but it was subsequently refounded by Erakanatha. It teaches that all the processes of perception go through a krama, or succession of 12 stages. There are space and time in spiritual processes. Abhinavagupta wrote many important books that are crucial to understand Trikashaivism. Anyway, his most important work, in my opinion, is Tantraloka, Light of Tantra. By means of near 6,000 stanzas, Abhinavagupta compiled a great treasure of divine knowledge which could have easily been lost. It's a voluminous book that could be considered to be a kind of commentary on the holy Malini Vichayotara Tantra, the most important Bhairava Tantra, which is most sacred to all the followers of Trikashaivism. Without the help of Tantraloka, it's practically impossible to understand the teachings of Shiva in that Tantra. And without Tantraloka, it's also practically impossible to understand Trikashaivism as a whole. This is the importance of Tantraloka. The importance of Abhinavagupta is so massive in this system that I have included his main disciple, Sheikh Shemaraja, on this list, not only for the relevance of his work, but also because he was the main disciple of such a great master. But I will speak about him soon. In the future satsanga, I will explain remind me, please. I will read for you the history of Trikashaivism, what I wrote in the blog, and I will speak about the different sections of the literature of Trikashaivism. So I will write here. Remind me. Speak about history of Trikashaivism. So we'll have a better idea of all these stages, yes, in the chronological, from a chronological viewpoint. Okay, for today is enough. We reached the 9th stanza in my poetry about the 12th, about the Temple of Truth, Trikashaivism. Yes, for today is enough. Next satsanga will continue with this book. Om Namah Shivaya.